Which movie, in your opinion, is the saddest movie of all time? Back when video stores existed, I wanted a feel-good movie. So I chose the DVD with two smiling and laughing kids on the cover. The movie was called My Girl. That was a mistake. Big Fish. My father died when I was 12, and so I never really got to know him on a deep level. There is only so much you can share with your 12-year-old. The movie centers around a father-son relationship and learning to really know one another on a deep level. That movie is just, if you lost your father, especially young, and you loved him, bring a box of tissues. That is my only spoiler. It ain't a dark movie by any means, and I would describe it as whimsical, but the message resonates on a deep human level. My best friend and I had long had a habit of trying to see movies we knew nothing about. We went to Manchester by the sea. My friend was terminally ill when the movie ended. We both just sat there, stunned, silent, weeping. He said it was the most beautiful, most well-acted film he had ever seen. It turned out to be the last movie we ever saw together. We'd been expecting another 2 years before he would die, but complications set in. He died less than 4 months after we saw the movie. I could not bring myself to go to a movie again for 7 years. Someday I'll be able to watch this fine film again. This movie is a core memory for me. It came out when I was in college and living in an apartment with 4 other guys. It was a Friday at around 5 p.m. and we were all in the living room gearing up for the weekend. We cracked some fresh beers and decided to throw on a movie since our other friends weren't free until later. First thing we see on Netflix, Marley and Me, fun dog movie, why not? 2 hours later we're all sniffling, avoiding eye contact while we sadly sip our natural lights. I don't think we went out later that night. There are a lot, but one main one is Saving Private Ryan. It's all around sad. What is really sad in my opinion was when the young medic passed away crying for his mom. Then they go up the hill to shoot the last Nazi execution style, while he's trembling and trying to reason with the Americans in German. Then they cut to the background to show that despite the fact the narrative shifts your hatred for the medic's death towards the Nazi. In the background there are 2 dead Nazis that look even younger than the medic. Then the guy starts befriending the nicest American soldier, and when it was time to kill him, bro started using all the English he knew to show the Americans that he was human. They let him go, he got back in circulation, and killed the very same man who spared him. Again, the narrative tries to make you hate the Nazi dude, but in his defense, in war, can you really tell who you are shooting at? I bet if he had known it was the same man who spared him, he wouldn't have shot. At the end, you see he was shocked to see Upham, the American he befriended. I think he didn't know, but still. This movie is full of stuff like this, all sorrow. The saddest movie in existence for me is Precious. It's sad on many levels. The character's life and how far the abuse lasted for Precious, and how long it took for her to be able to have a social worker that can see what's going on, and how evil her mother is allowing the abuse to go on for so long and further abusing Precious, blaming her for it. What's just as sad is so many people use the movie Precious to be racist, and make fun of it, and entirely miss the point of the movie. The sequel of the book makes the story even sadder. She raises her son as best as she can, but she dies in her 30s due to AIDS. And then her son turns into a monstrous sexual abuser just like her dad. It's actually disturbing how messed up the son is, makes me really side-eye the author Sapphire. Some favorite lore in my family is from back when Netflix was mail-order DVDs only. My uncle, sweet man who's since passed, was thrilled to receive Brokeback Mountain and $1 Million Baby at the same time. 2 well-reviewed movies and an open Saturday on the docket. The way my aunt tells it, he goes into his den to watch Brokeback Mountain and emerges tear-stained, says, well, that was just awful. Good thing I have this sports movie to cleanse my palate and take the edge off. Nothing more uplifting than a sports movie. Disappears into his den again. Uncle Steve was never the same after that day. The Pursuit of Happiness is a deeply moving film that follows a father's unwavering determination to overcome homelessness and poverty while caring for his young son. It's a poignant story of resilience, sacrifice, and the relentless pursuit of a better life. Well, which is worse, Beloved or The Color Purple? I tried to read Beloved, couldn't. I did read The Color Purple, but the movie may be the saddest of all time. No way I could watch it all the way through. I sobbed so hard when the second half started I almost gave myself a hernia. And then there's Old Yeller, which was the saddest of all time until The Color Purple. Still way up there, glad it is fiction. The Color Purple and Beloved are fiction, but based on true events. I did this with streaming Bridge to Terabithia. Never heard of it before. Looks like a kid's film. Sounds like high fantasy. I just wanted some light entertainment. I picked up my 9-year-old grandson from school yesterday, and before I could ask how the last day went, he tells me they watched this super sad movie that made him tear up, and he didn't want anyone to see him cry. I asked what movie was it, and when he said The Fox and the Hound, I told him that I guarantee he wasn't the only one with tears in his eyes. That movie was the first one I cried during at for fifths, fair and locked, losing my mom. I was late to school every day 2nd grade because I was scared I'd never see my mom again. Terrified she'd die young. She lived to be 61. I do so miss my mom. I think Big Fish is the perfect example of finding joy than sadness. I leave that movie not sad that he died, but glad that he had such a life and shared it with others. Agree, it isn't a downer ending by any means compared to a lot of movies. For me, the sadness comes from knowing I'll never get the chance to do what the character in that movie did. Not to get really personal, but my dad had something similar too, but not cancer. That is very rare, and I found him passed out in the bathroom. Lived in the hospital for 2 weeks after while he was sick, and they ran all kinds of tests. As a 12-year-old I got restless, and the night he wanted me to stay with him and watch Animal House I left instead to go to a friend's birthday party. Guess which night he goes into a coma and never wakes up. I know it's not my fault, I couldn't have known blah blah blah, but man, that movie hits me with a wave of overwhelming guilt for not staying that night and spending all the time I could to get to know him better. I guess it boils down to sadness for seeing the main character get the closure I never will at the end. Own that movie? Won't watch that movie. Listen to Yellow Card's How I Go and weep openly from that alone. Truly fantastic homage. Jesus, I never knew this existed. Thanks for this. That song perfectly encapsulates the movie into 4.5 minutes for anyone interested. Lyrics are perfect. If you haven't seen it, I would recommend it. It is sad, but in a hopeful way, if that makes sense. At the end you will maybe stir up memories, but it is a cathartic, hopeful ending that kinda helped me process some feelings. I'm sorry for your loss, and I totally agree about Big Fish. For about the first 24 years of my life I didn't know my dad very well because when I was very young my mother moved us halfway across the country away from him. After that I didn't see him more than once or twice a year, if that. Not that it's the same as losing a father permanently, but it majorly messed up our connection for a long time. For a long time I missed him. Then in my teens I was mad at him. I got over that, but things were still kind of weird. Then one day I saw Big Fish in the theater, on a date, and I bawled my eyes out. Adding to it was that my dad likes to tell adventurous stories, so it really reminded me of him. I think that movie is part of what inspired me to work towards fixing our father-son relationship. I just turned 24 on June 9th and lost my father on May 2nd. Big Fish was a movie he showed me when I was young. I didn't understand it but have started watching it now. I have gotten through part of it but I just broke down and haven't been able to continue. I can't believe I saw this reply as the top comment. I hope anyone else who's lost their father young watches this movie when they're ready. I will finish it when I am too. I literally think this is top 10 most underrated movie of all time. Such a lovely movie. Enjoyed seeing the crazy stories that his father told his son about his life. and the son realizing there is more truth in their relationship than he couldn't believe. Deeply moving movie. Dead Poet Society. Yeah, it's all happy and fun the first half, but the second half really messed me up. Especially since I've had a couple great teachers leave my life. It is sad also in the respect of those boys being pushed to one avenue of their life in that school. When Robin Williams' character comes in and flips their thinking upside down, for that small group of boys, you know he made an impact. What a bittersweet movie.